He is the man named Ghost, but where did he get started? Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks to single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. This is the side story about Ghost and how he got started. The comic is titled Modern Warfare 2: Ghost. Our story begins with Ghost being tied up in a school in Ukraine. The terrorists have the kids hostage, and Ghost decides that since they have an hour to kill, they'll tell a little story. It's a story about a man named Simon Riley. He was in the SAS and sent on a joint task force mission, meaning that he was teaming up with individuals from units around the world. They were going to Mexico to stop Manuel Roba, the CEO of a drug cartel. But something was off. As they parachuted in, they already lost one of their team members because his chute wasn't packed properly, which means someone on their team was obviously a rat. But since they had no idea who it was and they needed to continue their mission, they used the Day of the Dead to sneak into Roba's main base. They knifed the guards at the entrance and they knocked the other ones out. Riley then slipped inside of a massive party filled with drunk people, and it is in there that he found one of the missing members of his team, one that had gone missing the night before when he linked up with a woman from a brothel. Riley also found him with his genitals cut off and bleeding all over the floor. His mission commander came in and shot the missing man in the head. The commander was the rat, the guy working for Roba. More guards came in and they started to tie Riley up, but he fought back, hitting both of them and shooting another one in the head. He then ran for it as fast as he could, leaping out of the window and running across the lawn. But he didn't make it without getting shot and captured. He was tortured physically and mentally, with Roba trying to break him down and brainwash him. He was trying to do it to all of his special forces captives. He would stand in front of Riley with his face painted white, telling him that he is the death of everything Riley knows and loves. Over and over, Riley was tortured until they gave him his final test. Would he kill for Roba? Was he brainwashed? And Riley resisted. Then, near the end of his life, his squad mates Sharp and Washington finally broke free and they ran to get Riley out of his cell, but they couldn't do it. His cell was locked tight and he told them to leave him and go. The next day, Riley was thrown into a casket with a dead body and he was buried underground. When he woke up, he realized how bad his situation was, so he tore the jaw off of the corpse and he used it to pry the roof of the casket open. Then, 13 hours later, he dug his way out of his own grave. He wandered around Texas a little while, dehydrated, delirious, and covered in sores, all infected while he collapsed on the ground. A Texan found him over the border about to die and he brought him back in, and that is how Riley survived. 4 months passed and his unit wouldn't clear him for active duty. They decided that he was psychologically messed up and unable to complete his mission. To make matters worse, Riley was haunted by nightmares of a darker side of himself, a side that he wasn't proud of, something that Roba did. And Roba was always in the dreams. Since they wouldn't let him go back into active duty, he would take leave to see his family, his mother, brother, and his brother's wife and son. And that's where Sharp found him. Sharp obviously had broken free and gone back earlier than Riley, so they both went out for a drink to talk about what happened. And that's when Riley learned that Sharp was dealing with nightmares too. But Sharp's were a sort of wish fulfillment, wherein Riley's were pure nightmare. They were both dealing with the same issues, but in their own way. Roba tried to torture and brainwash them, except Riley sometimes wondered, did it work? Did something die in him in that grave? On their way back home, Sharp sees a woman and he decides to approach her, asking if she'll call up some of her friends for a party before he ships off. She denies him, so he grabs her and covers her mouth. Riley sees what's about to happen, so he dials 911 on his phone before slipping it back into his pocket. Sharp then tells Riley to get her keys out of her purse and get them inside her apartment now. But that's when the sirens begin getting closer and closer, so they both make a run for it, leaving the poor girl on her own on the doorstep. When they get back to Sharp's hotel, he apologizes for going a bit too far. But Riley knows that something is up. He knows something has changed in Sharp, and he knows it's Roba's fault. He pulls a knife on Sharp and he throws him down to the bed. So what is it? Did they squeeze your stones and offer you some money so you folded? You didn't see it, did you? See what? What is Roba after? Just want to go back, man, Sharp says confusingly. Then Washington comes back in the room to see what's going on. He pulls a gun on Riley and Riley runs through the window, but as he gets there, he gets shot in the thigh. On the ground floor, Riley then runs over and steals a car, remembering what Roba said about their brainwashing sessions, that he would kill everything that Riley loved. He sped back as fast as he could to his mother's place, but he found the door open. As he walked inside, everyone was murdered by Roba's men. But seeing his own family murdered didn't do what it was supposed to. There was another emotion inside of him that scared the hell out of Riley, something that made him laugh and question everything. He walked over and he took a gun out of a drawer and he put it in his mouth, but he couldn't pull the trigger. Instead, he threw up all over the floor. He runs back to the hotel room to see if he can find both Sharp and Washington, but they are missing. That's when they throw a grenade through the window, blowing up the whole hotel room, and Riley sneaks out the back. The police think that Riley killed his own family and blew up the hotel. The evidence was in place for him to take the fall. So, with nothing left to lose, Riley got to work. He learned Sharp and Washington were at a base called Bonington. He went to work sneaking in while he wore his skull face paint. He snuck into the bunks and he killed Washington in his bed before kidnapping Sharp and bringing him back to his mother's house. Riley forced Sharp to look at what he did and he told him. The worst part is that he can't grieve properly. He pulls out some tools and he plans to torture Sharp for what he did. Attach a morphine drip to him and then cut his stomach open so that as the morphine wears off, he'll feel his own intestines on the ground. But before he can do it, he walks into the other room. Sharp cuts his bindings and he sneaks into the kitchen after Riley, only to see Riley's gun pressed to his head. Riley killed him right there and he swapped their dog tags around before lighting the house on fire. As far as the police were concerned, Riley was dead and only Ghost remained. He then went to work torturing Roba's general to get the information as to their location now, and once he had it, he went on a killing spree. He severed heads, cut off arms, and made his way into Roba's house as he blew up the force around the house. He made his way up to Roba himself, killing everyone until eventually, it was only the two of them. Roba welcomed Mr. Death, his creation, and Ghost threw a knife into Roba's arm, disarming him. And then he followed him into his bedroom where they had a full-on shootout. Roba ran for it into the rain outside and Ghost chased him, shooting him in the back. Then he walked up and shot him in the head. Old Riley did what the armies of 3 governments, countless outlaws, hitmen, and cartels could not. Back in the present day, the terrorists wonder why the unit outside hasn't made a move on them yet. And Ghost tells them they were waiting for him. With his story over, he stands up, obviously not restrained, and he opens fire on the terrorists. He rescued the kids, and as he carried out the little girl, she asked, "You are Riley, aren't you?" And Ghost tells her, "Sorry, kiddo. It was just a story to keep them busy." It's true, isn't it though? True enough for that lot. Back in the past, once Ghost had finished killing everyone, he walked away from the house that he set on fire, and a chopper landed next to him. A man got out with a badge. Task Force 141. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you want to chat about this video or any other on the channel, let us know in the comments down below or follow us on Twitter @EligibleMonster. I'll see you guys next time right here.